Dude, this is it. This is episode 420. That's why I said dude.
Oh, for real?
It's episode 420 of No Laugh Track
man.
Podcast.
You couldn't have found a more fitting comedian for 420.
I'm Justin Severson, the host. We are at Acme. I am here with the headliner, Robert Baril. What is your 420? What does that mean to you, sir?
Hitler's birthday.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
My wife's aunt, her birthday is April 20th. I found that out earlier this year, and I was like, oh, Hitler's birthday. She had no clue. She lived her whole life and never knew that. You and I don't have a birthday. Your birthday's not 420.
No, my birthday's 422.
Oh.
Though. So
okay.
It's close.
Okay.
It's close. I think I share it with Jack Nicholson and Oppenheimer, the bomb guy.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Good company.
Yeah.
Good company, I think.
Yeah, yes, it is. So a friend of mine texted me last week, and he's like, hey, man, big episode next week. I'm like, huh? He goes, 420, dude. I'm like, oh. He goes, you going to do something special? I'm like, what do you mean, something special? So if you could bring out the bong, Brandon, we're going to... You left it at home. All right, well, we won't do that then. We'll skip that part. But I do have some 420, some fun pot stats that we'll get to in just a second.
Bring it on, man. This is... Yeah.
Bring it on. What is your relationship with pot, sir?
We're occasional. We're acquaintances, I would say. I don't have a close relationship
Sure.
With marijuana. I remember Mike Lester one time. He had this vape machine.
Why am I laughing just saying Mike Lester?
And that was probably the highest I've ever been in my life. Was he used this it was called the Volcano or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they're called the Volcano.
Yeah, there's like a switch,
volcano.
a pull cord. I knew I was in for it, and I'm still, I think, suffering some effects from it. But yeah, that was. Otherwise, I don't normally. I might take a little puff from a joint here or there. Not since COVID, but pre-COVID.
Of course,
I would do that. Occasionally a gummy or something, but it just. If anything, it just puts me to sleep. Like I don't. It doesn't really. One thing, I'll say this: we were in Los Angeles a few years ago, and we got high, and he wanted to go to an open mic, and I couldn't remember a single joke I'd ever written. I have so much respect for comedians that can perform high, because I can't do it. I'll stare back at the crowd. I'm not a very anxious person, but I feel like that would give me some anxiety.
Sure.
I have jokes. What are my jokes?
Which is
interesting. Am I
interesting.
saying this out loud? Yeah.
Which is interesting because people sometimes get prescribed marijuana for anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, who knows? Here's some fun pot stats. It's also 4th of July weekend, of course.
Yeah.
We'll see if this blows.
Yeah, I have a much better relationship with America than I do although marijuana's track record, I think, is a lot better. If we're talking about, history. But
did you know there's a cannabis software and intelligence company? In any case, they released a new report that they predicted on the 4th of July this year, 4th of July 2021, will bring in over $206 million in legal cannabis sales across the United States. Million.
Yeah, it's a lot of Funyuns.
That is a lot of Funyuns. That is absolutely a lot of Funyuns. So let's get to why we're here, because you're headlining this week at Acme.
I am.
Congratulations.
I am. Thank you.
We're past the first night.
Mom, I'm coming home. Here we go. Yeah. Last night was the first night. I got one under the belt.
How'd it go?
I thought it went great. It was kind of fun. I'm doing the show, for people that don't know. I'm doing it Vegas style, which means I'm hosting the show, and then there's a showcase of all the MCs they've hired here: Elise Cole, Ira Ford, Sean Navstead, and James Stanley.
There we go.
And we've done some sketches where I interview them, and those are available on YouTube, and Acme's posted those. I think they're pretty funny.
They're very funny. Good job.
And then once that's done, then I come out and do a full headline set, which is fun to kind of do the two different sets, where the opening set's pretty short, but I I go as likable as I can and just kind of, tickle them with a bit or two. And then when I come up for the headline set, it's just right into police brutality. And I don't have to worry about being likable, and I can push them, and I can embrace the fact that no one's on after me, so I can really explore the boundaries of taste and subject matter with them.
That's a great description.
Yeah, thank you.
I was here. I watched the show. Man, so good. So good. So funny.
Thank
I
you,
love
man.
the mix of some of the material I've heard before, only because you perform
You
here.
son of a bitch.
Well, I mean, I'm a little different than
Sorry,
the norm.
it can't be brand new. The whole set, Justin. I'm just one man. I don't have a staff.
So I got to point this out. Last week, Tim Slagle was here.
Yeah.
And I go, so are you talking about COVID on stage? And he goes, well, I kind of have to. I don't barely have any new material. I was like, I know, I didn't mean, I wasn't calling you out for not having. That wasn't like
we did Crash and Burn together. We all came up with COVID jokes for him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So so last night you come out and start police brutality. How long have you been doing those jokes on stage? Obviously not too long because they're very topical.
The bit about Chauvin, the jokes I have about Chauvin's trial, I've been doing I guess since the trial. But the stuff I open with about his mom was obviously just this past week since I saw that.
So you've run that stuff all over in the last several months or whatever.
The trial stuff.
Is there any hesitation of doing that anywhere?
Not really.
No.
I mean I frame it in such a way where most of it is directed at him.
Oh yeah.
And now Potter and like individual cops versus like cops in general.
Yep.
And then I have one or two other bits where I talk about cops in general, but it's not like an abolish the police, all cops are bad position. It's sort of this, I frame it in a way where I feel like I can bring most people on board with me, and some people just aren't going to like it at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, I did them in South Dakota, and it went over pretty well because I think even in small towns that are pro-cop, I think look at city police differently, especially now after Chauvin.
Sure.
Where it's like, yeah, okay, the cops in your town are probably great, at least to you, because they went to school with your son. They know you. They go to church with you.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to be a dick to you
That's
because
Bill.
they're a part of the community.
I know his parents.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? But then what happened to George Floyd became viral. Everyone saw it. Most people saw it for the murder that it was. And I think I talk about that and then extrapolate from that to other city police, specifically Minneapolis for the bit, but it's Chicago is just as bad,
Sure.
and all the other major cities, New York. But they'll laugh at it, I think, because I'm not talking about their police.
Yeah, I think you'll take this as a huge compliment. That if someone put a piece of paper in front of me and it said, there's a comedian in 2021 that's going to start his set with police brutality stuff, and it's specifically Derek Chauvin, and then they gave me a list of everyone performing.
Linda Ahrens.
That would be first choice. Second would be you.
Sure. Yeah.
Second would
No,
absolutely be you behind Linda.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt. So, and you do it so well.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. I mean, the worst thing that could happen is they don't laugh. But I definitely think that it's great and I guess I really didn't think about it too much until after the show last night when Becky, my wife, was talking to me. And I think I did like 48 minutes, something like that. But she was like, there wasn't a lull in it. Like, it was still, and part of that, I think, goes to the jokes and my kind of style of just trying to be like rapid fire and throw the lines out there. But I think another benefit to, and it's risky, but the benefit to talking about topical, controversial issues is that people are paying attention. They're like, what's he going to say about, what are you going to say about Jesus? Like, okay, vaccine, where are you going with this? And then, so even if they're not necessarily on board with you, the Capitol rioting, all that stuff, they still want to hear what you're saying, so they're paying attention.
What do you think about when you hear a groan from the crowd?
it gives me something to play with. Then
Is it
it's
discouraging? No.
Oh no, not at all.
Not at all. Right.
One person audibly said I was sick during one of the. I did some joke about pedophiles, and he was like, you're sick," and then
a guy said it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, which was kind of funny because we were talking about before this when I'm reading the biography about Lenny Bruce.
Yeah.
And how he had that label sick and stuff, and like how it affected me. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm sick. You're goddamn, just kind of like leaned into it, like that's not going to slow me down. Like if anything, you're paying me a compliment.
Yeah.
But I think groans aren't a bad thing. I wanted the stuff I'm talking about. People should be having different reactions to.
Yeah. I didn't notice any. I did hear a few groans, and it was when you did some of the religious stuff.
Oh,
which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
But I guess not surprising at all.
But I think that's fascinating, too, because I have a few bits about Jesus, but I think to anyone that actually gives them a fair hearing, like, Jesus isn't the butt of the jokes. I just have a version of Jesus that I think is very human, which to me is the most compelling Jesus, because at least that version you can relate to.
Yeah.
And then it's just situations where he would lose his cool or not be having a good time or that sort of thing. And then, some people aren't on board with that at all. But even then, it's kind of fun. I mean, if they want to say something, I'll go back and forth with them.
Yeah.
But being able to pull laughs out of that, like high risk, high reward. And then, sometimes it won't go well. But then, whatever. That's just part of the experience. And I'm not going to stop talking about it.
Now, when your wife goes out to sell merch afterwards, and if you're not there, does she get the comments from people like the positive and negative? Like, he's so great, or...
Yeah, hindsight, I don't think I'll be doing that the rest of the week. Because it's really not fair to her. Because I wasn't going to try to sell anything this week. And she's like, well, I mean, it's just money we're saying no to if people want to buy something, so I'll go out there.
Tell them you're doing a 4th of July sale. Everybody has a 4th of July sale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, she was just frustrated because I guess there was one drunk lady that really wanted to see me, and she didn't care for that. And then there were a few people that I think she gave them the Venmo. Like, they weren't going to buy the CD, which obviously, like, who has a CD player anymore? It's, but whatever. So they wanted to Venmo me just as like a tip, I suppose, because part of it was I did a joke about Spotify. So like they're going to listen, and it's not going to cost them anything to listen. So it was like, well, I'll chip in for the effort.
Sure.
Yeah.
I bought a copy of your CD a few months ago from you, the 2020 one.
It's coming around again, right? Vinyl's back in fashion. Another 20 years, it's going to be CD players.
I mean, you're joking about that, I think, but
no, man.
Cassettes are. I've been reselling my old cassette tapes on eBay. They're more valuable than when I purchased them in the 90s.
You're probably onto something. Maybe the next one will go on cassette.
There you go. I'm telling you. There's some
I'm
weird
serious.
demand.
Mm-hmm.
There really is some weird demand for it.
Yeah.
So you did that album with Bryan Miller, 2020, all these topical jokes.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking that could really be a thing, like, what is it, forever? I mean,
perpetuity?
Perpetuity, is that the correct word to use?
Yeah, in perpetuity.
I mean, there could be like a 2021, 2022.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we do it every year just because so much shit happened in 2020 that it certainly warranted it. But he and I have talked about it, too, where if there's another... Yeah, I mean, it's pretty low pressure for us. We only have to come up with half an album. And then he and I both, I think, are really good about... sort of pushing each other. Like, I'll see him and he's got a few new minutes, so it's like, well, I got to have some new minutes. And I think it was almost like our own mini crash and burn, which if you're listening to this, you probably know what it is, but just the comics that write new material that week, and whatever it ends up being that. And except with this, there's the added benefit of just, putting out more content, and people can listen to it whenever, and it's not just done at that club that last night that it's performed. So, I mean, who's to say? I think both of us, if there's another year, I don't think anything will come as close to being what 2020 was. But if there's some interesting stuff that
we never know.
We don't know. Cosby's back out, so who knows? It's already.
I mean, a Cosby comedy album.
I would. That's one I wouldn't want to be. I wouldn't want to be involved in that one. I will say that. But joking about it, maybe. So who knows? Within the next few, I know I'd be all for it. And if Bryan is too, then we just need some, enough stuff to happen in the year that we can joke about. And yeah, I could easily see it happening again.
Yeah, I noticed that. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think I heard Crash and Burn stuff in your set last night.
Yeah?
Yeah, didn't I? Did I? No?
The bit about Jesus in heaven. Yes, that was Crash and Burn.
Yeah,
you're right.
see?
Because I'm going through, I'm like, oh, man. I feel like, you caught me with my pants off. Like, oh, that was a bit I was doing a year ago. That was, or maybe less than a year. What was that, September?
Yeah.
It's probably less than a year.
Much less than a year ago.
Yeah, no, I was thinking like it was the cop stuff. But yeah, that's right. That Jesus bit was from Crash and Burn.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that stuff wound up on the 2020 album, which is why I'm not doing it. But there's a bit on there about Karens that did make it on the album that I'll probably be doing at some point this week too to get that a bit more polished.
Yeah. Do you have a hard stance on turning over material? Like I just can't do. I got to get rid of it.
I mean, once a bit works consistently and gets a good laugh, I do kind of get bored with it just because then it works. And that's great, and I have that. And I'll do it until I do it another, whenever I do the album, and then I put it on the album and stuff. But it's not as interesting to me as a bit that I'm currently working on or shaping. Just because I know it works. It's fun to do, and it's especially fun once the set's going well, and then it's like, oh, now I got this one ready. Like, this one's in the chamber. Oh, I'm going to annihilate. In that sense, but at a certain point, I feel lazy if I know the bit's going to work, because then I just feel like almost like a stripper a little bit, before the top comes off, like, well, I know what everybody wants to see. And
know what
you
you're
do
here
the bit,
for.
People are like, woo! And you're like, yeah, okay. Like, it's not as challenging as being like, well, this is some dark shit. Let's see how this goes over.
Yeah.
Because then it's really fun. Then it's like, okay, what are they thinking? Okay, can I make an aside here? Or it's much more of like a fun puzzle.
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah. I mean, after about a year, I think I start to tire of material.
Okay.
Especially the kind of stuff I'm doing now where it's sort of topical and stuff. So like I don't, I would say after next year, I don't want to be doing any more Chauvin stuff.
Right.
I'm doing an album in November with Helium.
Okay. I was just going to ask you that.
Yeah. And so at the Indianapolis Helium, November, I think it's the 4th and 5th, they'll be recording it. And that's where most of that stuff is going to go.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's got to be a good feeling to have that all set.
Yeah, it's also a further incentive to just keep writing and everything, and I'm going to be doing the same approach to it that I did with 2020 with Bryan, where I'm just going to be writing as much as I can and then put it all out on the stage, and then whatever I think the best 45 is with the most topical, because that's, there's going to be a shelf life.
Sure.
But I feel like everyone's going to remember Chauvin. He's not going anywhere.
God.
But I also
we got bigger problems.
Yeah. But I'm also ready to like move on material wise from that too.
Sure. So I mentioned earlier, I think I said, yeah, you're married. Well, I referred to her as your wife. So you're married recently, right?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
How long can you keep Bride going? Does Bride expire after a year? Does Bride become wife?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm on my second, so yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, but yes.
What else you want to know?
She is both of those things. Yeah.
Congratulations on that. I think, yeah, did I see honeymoon? Where did you go for the honeymoon?
We went to Florida. We're
Nice.
both big Ron DeSantis fans. And no, that's not true. That's not true at all. But I love the beaches. It was nice and serene and sleeping in, lots of Bloody Marys. It was nice.
Nice. Well, that's always a good time.
Let me recharge my batteries before coming back to the Midwest and doing more shows again. And I get stir crazy. I like relaxing, but after about a week, then it's like, okay, I have these jokes now I want to try, or these one-liners I want to try, and I get anxious.
So along those lines, I think you're like me, and I know you are. You're kind of a news junkie. You say it on stage. News
Not
junkie.
anymore.
You used to.
Yeah,
but okay.
yeah.
Don't let me misquote you. So when you're on vacation, honeymoon specifically,
Yep.
do you cut off all connection to the real world?
This might be a little too much information, but I like to be on the bottom during sex so I can still watch the news. It's also part of a delaying tactic. I know a lot of guys think of baseball, whereas...
Starting lineup.
Exactly, starting lineup. Whereas me, you put on like the PBS NewsHour or something, so it's nice, and I can... However long she wants to go, I can last as long as I have... I can't remember the guy's name. Jim Lair? He died.
McNeil Lair?
Yeah, McNeil? Yeah, somebody. Democracy Now! I could have said Amy Goodman, but that's not a TV show, I don't think.
As soon as Almanac comes on Friday
Exactly. Yep. Brooks and, who's the guy that Brooks debates? Brooks and...
I don't know.
Shit. I should know, because I watch it during sex for this joke I came up with right now. But no, I have to compromise. So if I'm up first, I can watch some news, or if there's like a lull, because she's got kids, so she's constantly putting out fires, and then that's kind of a thing where if I'm gonna need to be on the phone for a while, then it's like, oh, I get news now? She's like, yes, you get news. And you're like, okay, all right. So then I go and I consume my news.
If only you could play live TV and fast forward to get as much as you can, right?
Mm-hmm.
I heard someone. I was listening to a podcast and they were discussing, people being canceled, and one of the guys was like, I gotta tell you, like, that stuff exists on social media, but if you go into a coffee shop or you go into a restaurant and you ask people about that stuff that's going on, they don't have any idea. He's like, it's just complete ignorance, and it's awesome. I don't know if I completely agree with that, but I guess what I'm asking is, like all the things, all the news that we take in, all of everything. Like sometimes I think, and I want to know what you think, like, would that be a good thing, just to like, I don't have to worry about this, and I don't have to worry about that, and there are no problems in the world. I just worry about what am I going to have for lunch? When am I going to go to bed?
Well, that wouldn't be my target audience member.
Yeah, right?
For sure. I mean, yeah, I think there's something to the ignorance being bliss.
Let's look at it that way. Like, when you have a crowd coming in here, you would need to assume that they kind of know what's going on.
I suppose, yeah. I mean, I try to, with the setups... Because at this point, Chauvin has universal name recognition, so I don't think I have to explain that. I think, what else do I talk about? The pandemic people have heard of. The rioting people have heard of. I think, like, maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene might be the most niche reference in the set, because you kind of have to be a political junkie, but it's just 2 or 3 jokes, and the way I structure it is how... She brings out like the anti-feminist aspect of liberal women in dealing with her, that even if you don't know who she is, you still kind of get the idea. So I guess the way it affects me is just trying to make sure through as brief a setup I need to do for the joke, I can get enough people on board. But at the same time, I'm not going to spoon feed people. Like, it's not my fault that you don't pay attention to stuff and might not enjoy this set.
Yeah.
Like, research your comics and maybe don't come see me if you're not aware of what's going on in the world or don't want to laugh at that subject matter.
I completely agree. That's kind of, like I know Acme has a podcast that people can listen to and get a good taste of how people are and stuff like that. Speaking of podcasts, let's talk about Comedy Mainline.
Yes, yep, the formerly known as Writer's Block.
Yeah.
I thought about calling it, Steve and I went back and forth, and like how he was the artist formerly known as Prince for a while, like just calling it the podcast formerly known as Writer's Block. Because it turned out after we picked that name that there are 10 other podcasts also called Writer's Block. But I guess there's no other Comedy Mainline, so that's what it is now.
I listened to the episode. I've listened to quite a few, but I listened to the one with Kostaki. And
yeah.
And I love the way it's like, it's a good show. Hard to find online.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, real classic comic, like just cutting to the marrow of the issue.
Yeah.
Because hopefully more people will be able to find it under the new title. He was one of the perfect guest for it, just like a writer, and we would just it was just a firing drill, basically. We all just were like, shooting off the punchlines and stuff. But the new incarnation, I think, is much more conversational, just because it was hard with some comic guests, because at a certain point it almost seemed like Steve and I were just auditioning jokes for them, and there really wasn't a lot of banter. It was us being like, hey, I thought of this, and they're like, I really don't want to go in that direction. Like, oh, okay, cool. Well, hoping for momentum there. But,
yeah.
It's like I don't want to bomb on my own podcast. Like, this is, I mean, if it happens, it happens.
Sure.
But, like, ideally, it would be framed in a way where the ball's just rolling the whole time, and if a joke doesn't work, someone else is talking right away, so we don't have to dwell on it. So, myself, Steven, very, very funny guy, Chris Maddock, also
How does he have the most perfect voice to, like, narrate or host? Or Chris Maddock? He really does.
Yeah. Yeah, he once in a while reprises his role of country music legend and does some parody songs and stuff. And the new version's a bit more. We're trying to aim for like a drive time radio sort of thing, a little bit with bits and sound effects and comics sort of calling in from wherever, almost like it's like a joke emergency. Like, oh, quick, I'm in Dubuque and this bit's shit, so help me out. And then like, okay, we'll see what we can do.
It's good. I really enjoy it. I love the format. It's the conversational. I like that.
Thank you.
And then hitting up the topics. And I've been around when you guys are like working on each other's jokes. The Crash and Burn. I've sat around and watched a little bit, and I like that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think the process. The tricky part is like trying to bring the process into it, but also having an appeal beyond just comedians who are like, oh, okay, so that's their angle and that's that, and still trying to make it entertaining without having it be all behind the curtain stuff. But the genesis of it was just like after Steve would have a set, I'd watch and be like, oh, I thought of this thing. And then when he's in Denver and I'm here, and we would do like some Instagram live stuff of just like a little joke workshop, and people seem to like that. So then it became Writer's Block, and now it's Comedy Mainline. Yeah.
Love it. Do you see yourself doing Comedy Zoom again in the future? Do you think that's gone?
I'd rather not, especially now that I'm back in a club that's got seating for everybody now and not spaced out and everything.
Yeah, I asked because it's still going on.
Yeah, no, I mean, if I had to, I would.
Yeah.
But I'm going to really have to have that. There can't be any other comedy available, and then I will.
Okay.
I will do it. Yeah,
that's a perfect answer. That is an absolutely perfect answer.
It's like like if you're a junkie and you can't get any other drug, and then it's just like the dirtiest shit weed that
Mm-hmm.
Then okay, I'll have to, because this is what I'm into, but. Just know going in, I don't want to, and it's not gonna be good. But I have to get my fix.
So 3 big things in comedy this week. 1, you headlining at Acme.
Yep.
2, Cosby out back on the streets. This isn't. I'm not giving these in any particular order. Those are just the 2 we've already covered.
I'm glad I'm first.
And 3.
Yep.
Our buddy Ali on Colbert the other night.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Big week for all 3 of us. Me, Ali, and the Kaz. We all, compared to where all of us were 3 years ago, I think we have all surprised some people. And to different degrees, and emotionally, it's highs and lows. But yes, I would.
All getting different reactions on social media as well.
Yep. Yeah, some more controversially than others.
No
yeah,
doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt. So let's say we go back 10 years in Robert Baril's life.
Okay.
All right, and come on.
I'm wearing a dress jacket that doesn't fit me. Go on. Yep.
That's fantastic.
Yep.
What? And if I get in a time machine, I travel back, and I talk to people that knew you 10 years ago. Would they say which one of these is more likely? That you're married or that you're headlining at Acme Comedy Company? 10 years. How long you been doing comedy?
About 10, I think.
Okay, well, let's say 11 years.
9, 10,
so before
11,
you started,
before
anybody
sure,
thought, oh,
yeah.
this guy, you're just the guy who makes their friends laugh sometimes, but you're not a working comedian. what do you think people would say is more likely? Married or headlining comedy club?
Probably headline a comedy club. Because it's been, I mean, I can't, you'd have to go back to probably middle school to find a version of me that, like, didn't want to give a serious go at stand-up.
Wow.
Whereas
I
did a Friends with Benefits thing for a long time with a few people. We'll say a few before meeting Becky, and marriage was never on my radar at that time, whereas comedy was. So I think that's what they would say.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Unless they were one of those Friends with Benefits, then maybe like, oh, marriage? But that wouldn't.
I know which one I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is the rest of the what's the rest of the summer for you? What's that looking like between now and recording your album in November, I think you said?
Gig wise, or
just everything, just in general. What's coming up for you for the summer?
I got a few more gigs. I'm doing the Ground Round in Grand Forks. I'm glad you're sitting, so these gigs don't blow you away off the stage. Ground Round in
there's still Ground Round?
There's apparently there's a Ground Round. Yeah. Unless I'm being fucked with, which I'm not ruling out either.
I hate when restaurants leave where I live and then still exist in other places. It just happened to me over the weekend. Remember the restaurant Schlotsky's?
No.
A sandwich place? I was in South Carolina and they had them there.
Okay.
It was a huge thrill to get one of those for the first time in years. I have fond memories of Ground Round.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's one left.
Okay.
There's
time
one
for a road trip.
Lone round, to Grand Forks.
Okay.
So I'm doing that on the 15th of July, and then the 16th I'm doing the Palisade Theater with some really funny people, Joey Hamburger, Ira, and then let's see, August I'm doing Madison Comedy Week. Over there, Mary Mack is also doing it. John Doerr. It's just a week of shows. Some of them at Comedy on Stage, then a few other venues in Madison, Wisconsin.
Oh, they do like a sort of a festival, you're saying?
Yep.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the first week of August. And then September, I'll be in North Carolina for 2 weeks. The first week doing the North Carolina Comedy Festival. And then the second weekend, I'm headlining a room at Good Nights in Raleigh to help gear up for the album.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And how about social media? How are you using that these days?
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm on the gram now, Instagrampa, which I think is a good handle for me because I still don't format things correctly, which pisses Steve off because he'll send me a clip. He's like, post this, and then like half the picture's missing and the clip doesn't line up, and he's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know this. I'm a content guy. I'm not a format guy. This isn't my thing. So we butt heads about that. I'm trying to get better. So yeah, I'm on all the social medias.
How about you used to do that Lester roll thing with Mike Lester?
Yes.
Is there?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Is there any other getting back into skits and stuff like that? Like you did, like you mentioned briefly doing the ones.
I had a lot of fun.
I had a lot of
fun doing the stuff here. I mean, if they want to keep up the inside the comedian studio, I got no problem coming here to keep that going. I love doing sketches. I think part of it's just scheduling, and now I'm married and have kids that aren't mine at the house and stuff. But any excuse to go out and make stuff, I'm down to do. So I don't know if I'd be the one to start that. But if people are like, hey, we got a thing, this Thursday, make some time, come do it, I'm definitely down.
Do you feel pressure to put stuff out on social media at all?
Not really.
Like, I got to have content.
I used to. And then now it's just the way my brain works, where when I read news, I just think of jokes, and then sometimes I'll post them, and then it's not as I don't feel compelled to do it, but just by nature of me reading news, I'll think of stuff, and so it just kind of takes care of itself.
Sure. I think I have one last question I want to ask you. When something like we were having I mentioned before before we started recording that I was like copying down my notes in another piece of paper because I was writing them down in my car. Mm-hmm. And you said that you've done something similar. When something comes to mind, you're like, oh, I got to remember that. What is your process? Like
I'll write it down.
You write it down.
Yeah, I write it because
on a
there's been a
piece
few
of
times
paper,
where
on your
yeah,
phone,
old school piece of paper.
Piece of paper.
If the phone is the last resort, because I'm just old school. I love the feel of the pen, the sound of it writing on the paper.
Really?
I feel more productive that way. I just like if it's a phone and like anyone can type anything. I don't know. This might not make sense, but like I just feel with the pen and the paper, I don't know. There's just something about it. I enjoy doing that.
Maybe there's some sort of ownership thing. Like I'm the only one that could write it down like this.
Yeah.
Anybody could type it up.
Yeah.
I'm writing it. This is my writing, my joke.
Exactly. It makes it a bit more personal.
Yeah.
I think that I get a kick out of.
For what it's worth, I prefer doing my notes handwritten, like for the podcasters.
I love collecting all my scraps of paper and everything and condensing it down, and it's to me that's a more rewarding process than just pulling up the phone and deleting this thing. And then I know some comics can do it, but I enjoy the mess. I like it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I've been looking forward to this since I saw your name on the board in the office there.
Thanks, man.
I was really looking forward to today. Here's something you probably don't know this. When we did Crash and Burn, maybe what was it, John
DeBoer?
Yeah, DeBoer.
DeBoer, Andy Erickson.
Yeah, I was telling John DeBoer. We were talking about you when we were done recording, and I was like, I gotta say, I'm sometimes intimidated by Robert Baril because I feel like he's like super smart, and I'm not gonna get a joke he says.
No,
but I always do.
I don't even think I'm that smart. I'm just informed. I feel like there's a difference.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, what do I know? But just informed, not smart.
Yeah, no, okay. Don't be intimidated at all. There's at least 3 or 4 times a day I'm doing something that's the dumbest thing you've ever seen somebody do. But I try to read a lot, and I obviously know what I'm gonna say, so I seem intelligent on stage and stuff. But yeah, no, don't feel overwhelmed at all. I can act a lot more intelligent than I really am.
Fair enough. Fair enough. This has been great. Thank you so much. People, come out and see you headline this week. We've got shows through Saturday, and you're doing it with 4 new MCs.
Yeah, a lot of these hacks out there these days, these headliners have 1 or 2 openers, and they're cowards. They're truly, and I'll say it here, I don't care. I'll make some enemies. They're cowards, and at least 4 openers. Yeah.
4 or you're not trying.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.